It was the cheeks, y'all. What is this? What is this? At that point, I'd rather join the secret society and keep my face. Thank you very much. I don't hate uglies. I don't dislike uglies. Uglies wasn't bad. That sounded way better. I thought uglies was supposed to be meaningful, make me feel, make me think, maybe even question society a little more than I already do. But instead, it tried to give me a really deep, motivated message, but forgot the memo somewhere between the glowing faces and the perfect teeth. Uglies. Or as I like to call it, almost profound, but also kind of a skincare ad movie. In the world of uglies, you are born ugly. At a certain age, you undergo a mandatory procedure that turns you pretty, granting you beauty, status, and belonging. It's sold as equality, as happiness, as perfection, but underneath that promise is control. When I went to uglies, I thought I knew what I was getting into. A dystopian story, a beauty-based society, a coming-of-age rebellion. Simple, familiar. But the more I watched it, the more I realized this story doesn't need to be louder. It needs to be more convincing. I expected uglies to feel tempting. I understand why people want it to be pretty. Because the best dystopians don't just show you what's wrong, they make you almost agree with it, right? As we dive into a movie, we follow Tally. She's curious, impatient, and deeply aware of where she's at in the system. At the beginning, she wants to be pretty, not because she hates herself, but because she hates being left behind by her man Paris. Tally represents the most dangerous kind of characters in a dystopian. Someone who isn't angry yet. She's compliant. She believes the system works, and that makes her easy to manipulate. I guess this is why her arc matters so much and why I wish it had more time. And then we have her bestie, Shay. Shay is the first real skeptical one in the story. She asks questions. She refuses to accept the rules just because they exist. She represents doubt. She's the character who looks at the world and say, something feels wrong here. And honestly, she's one of the most interesting characters, but she's not given enough space to be the interesting character. She gives the rebel type, and I guess that's okay, but I would have preferred if they didn't make her look like she's the rebel type, But also I have to give credit where credit is due. I did like how they reversed the fact that Tally was the cooperative one while Shay wasn't. I appreciate when the main character is actually okay with the system, that they are actually, this makes sense about the system, and wasn't freaking out or very skeptical at first. It felt like the main character was the side character, to be honest, similar to Teresa from Maze Runner. I love it when the main character is actually going to betray them and she thinks she's in the right with all of it. Then we have David. David is this outside the system. He's the outsider. He's proof that life doesn't have to look like what the city promised. He represents choice, but also he feels more like a symbol than a fully realized character. I understood what he stood for, I just wanted to understand him more. I felt like he didn't really have a personality outside of everything else. He's like, be you. I like how you are now. You're pretty natural. Okay, but what's your favorite color? Where do you like to go? Do you like to swim? Can you even swim? And then we have the pretties. The pretty characters are meant to be the temptation, the dream, the reward. But let's talk about the biggest thing that pulled me out of the story. The pretty faces. They were a lot. Instead of feeling like an enhanced version of yourself, they felt almost unrecognizable. Very CGI with the eyes, very Botox heavy. This is clearly not human for certain characters, and that's where the temptation breaks. Why this matters, you may ask. In a story like Uglies, the audience have to understand the desire. We need to think, yeah, I want that too. But when pretty looks artificial, the choice becomes obvious. At that point, I'd rather join the secret society and keep my face. Thank you very much. Because what is this? What is this? I honestly think it would have been scarier if Pretty looked like you, but smoother. You, but more symmetrical. You, but just better. Still you, but enhanced. Because real temptation doesn't feel like becoming someone else. It feels like becoming the best version of who you already are in your head. But instead, the movie leans into heavy CGI, or I should say filters. The face was very filtered, over smooth, almost like a Snapchat filter, especially around the cheeks. It was the cheeks, y'all. The cheeks. They freaked me out, okay? And once you notice, you just can't see it. I'll just be looking at them like, if I was running this system, I would prefer if they kept the ugly face exactly how it was. Bare face, natural, human pores, acne, whatever, what you consider or what society consider ugly, and then show pretty through subtle enhancement like makeup, lighting, smoother skin, but not filterizing the smooth skin. Not a complete visual overhaul. I get that everyone's definitions of perfect is different, but from a world building perspective, the society would have felt more believable and more unsettling if they look more uniform, not customizable. They look like they're the Sims. They look how my Sims look. And my Sims don't look pretty. Because perfection in the world isn't about self-expression, it's about control, right? This might have worked in the early 2000s, that type of look. Botox lips, or they call them lip fillers, Botox cheeks, Botox everywhere. Like, I'm not even talking about subtle ones, but like heavy Botox, okay? But now it just feels botched. Like, respectfully, they would have been unboxed. And that's the problem. Temptation isn't about becoming unrecognizable. It's about looking in the mirror and thinking, that's still me. Just elevate it, okay? Like I said, if I was running the society, I wouldn't let people choose how they look. I'll show them a version of themselves, enhanced, polished, and let that to be desired. Not, oh, let me change the eye color. Let me have blue eyes. And then like, let me just make my lips injected filler. Like, I found it so, like, what? No surgery, no extreme altercation, just the illusion of improvement. Because that's what makes it scary. Now, the world of Uglies is actually one of its strongest elements. The technology, like the hoverboards, was pretty cool if you get over the CGI humans, which I get for if you want the actors to be safe, but it just was, it was very like CGI. But anyway, the rules, the social structure, but the movie often tells us instead of letting us sit in it. Like, literally 5 seconds in and I'm already getting bombed with the lore of the world. Or when the character talks out loud and states the obvious. Like, yeah, I see it too, okay? This is a story that would benefit from slower pacing, longer silence, trusting the audience to know things on their own terms. I just think sometimes there are movies that should be dumbed down and movies that should be not dumbed down. Especially in certain genres, I should say, because dystopians don't work when they rush. They work when they linger. I think that's why I like Maze Runners and the Hunger Games, because they make me feel smart when I figure something out before the character or with the character. Even with all of that, even with all the things that I just said, With Uglies, I didn't walk away annoyed with some movies, you know? I walked away thinking, which is why I don't see Uglies as a failure. I almost see it as almost almost great, almost unsettling, almost unforgettable story. This movie made me realize good ideas need time, and Uglies has so many ideas about beauty, identity, control, and choice that it never slowed down enough to let them sink in, or they went over the top by separating the two to make it seem so unintangible to actually want to be with the perfects or the pretties, you know? But sometimes the scariest thing isn't perfection, it's how easy it is to want it. And I'm talking about the movie, not the book, because I haven't read the book. But anyway, with that being said, if you watch Uglies and felt conflicted, same. If it made you curious instead of satisfied, maybe that was the point. I don't know. Let me know, did the pretty world tempt you at all, or did it feel too far removed from what it should have been? With that being said, I feel like I'm like ran a marathon or something. I'll see you around. Bye bye.